driver, and then you've got the red one that traverses straight across. And then he has his chain, and he also, looks like that one's on a pallet. And it is there to prevent that from the forward movement. That is one of the ways that you can do it. The next one is if you have them crosswise. Alright, the steel is with the eye crosswise. So I'm assuming that's what? Suicide. Alright. So you can use timbers, chocks, and it must be to prevent the coil from rolling. Alright, now it means that this is preventing the supports to keep it from coming off the deck, and it cannot come unintentionally unfastened. So it can't loosen while you're going. Why is that in red? The use of nailed blocking or cleats as the sole means, so that's what you're using, alright, is prohibited. You cannot use anything nailed to the deck as your sole means of securement. Guys that are running these van trailers, they got pallets in there with stock freight or whatever, they can run a 2x4 down on nails. That's classified as being secured in their realm. For you guys with coils, that is prohibited. Now you still gotta have your bracing and your blocking in place, but you're using that in conjunction with your other tie-down supports. Alright. You must have at least one tie-down through the eye restricting its forward movement, and it has to be to where it makes an angle no more than 45 degrees with the floor when it's viewed from the side of the vehicle. At least one tie-down through the eye restricting against the rearward movement whenever, and it must be no more than 45 degrees, and you are not able to cross these, so there's no Xing of the tie downs. Alright, cannot cross your chains. You are unable to do that. This one. And when the coils are transported across, attaching them, they cannot again be used diagonally. This here is a good one. If you've got 10,000 to 20,000 pound coil, you got 3 securements. One through the front, one through the back, and one straight through. Same way with 20 to 30, 30 to 40, and 40 to 50. It's just multiple securements. Okay?
Did it say something about going straight through the middle?
Alright. It does. Where did I see that at? Side to side.
It talks about rearward,
Right,
frontward, and then no X's. So,
I know why. Your 2 chains on that, we're not gonna be able to cover the labor unless you've got, I guess, great.
what we use are rated at 6,600 pounds.
Okay, if you're working 6,600, you'd be fine on that?
Something probably is up.
You would be fine on that. So make sure you've got one traversing through.
Sounds silly though.
If it's lengthwise, this would be called shotgun, right? Am I correct on that? Okay, I tried. Alright, so with this one here, you can still use the blocking bracing to prevent it from rolling, and of course, anything cannot come loose. This one again, you cannot use the wood nailed down as your only sole form of securement. With this one, at least one tie down attached diagonally through its eye from the left side to the near, the forwardmost part to the right side. So now we're gonna cross it. Alright, same way with the back one. It's gotta be going from the right side of the vehicle near the front to the left side of the rear. No more than 45 degrees. Now, guys, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not gonna get up there with a protractor and start measuring if you got that at 45 degrees. That's gonna be kind of an eyeball thing for us. I could tell you probably many guys out there that know that that part even exists. Alright, but just make sure that it's as close as you possibly can to get that. And must have at least one tie down attached transversely over the top of the coil, and you either have to have blocking or friction mats to prevent any longitudinal movement. This would be the picture that you would see. Got one coming up through on the driver's side, one coming up through on the passenger side, and one going straight across the load. Good? That's optional. option number one. Alright, option number two, alright, still be able to use your timbers, chocks, wedges to help prevent it from rolling, but it cannot be used as a sole. You must have at least one tie down attached through its eye from the left frontmost part of the coil to the left side of the rearmost part of the coil, not over 45 degrees. And then one from the right side of the coil at the front to the right side at the rear, and again, 45 degrees. And you must run another one over top of the coil, and you still have to have your blocking or friction mats. This would be that one. So now you are Xing those through. Alright, you look and see you've got the blue one over here to the right, comes up and through to the left, red one goes up and through, and you've got your gold one that goes straight over. Good there? That's option two. But wait, there's one more. There's a third option that you can do. This one here, I don't think I would really do this one. After looking through these, I don't think I would do this one at all. This one here, again, you gotta have your bracing and cradling in there to prevent it from moving, nothing nailed down in cleats. You at least have one tie down over the top of the coil, located at the forwardmost part of the coil, at least one tie down over the top, located at the rearmost part of the coil, and you have to have either blocking or that friction mats. Alright, this is what that one looks like. I just don't trust that.
You see that mostly in belly trailers.
Well, buddy, I'm gonna tell you, I scoured the internet for pictures on that. I barely found that one after 45 minutes of
Right.
looking.
Call it Hill Transportation, I sent you a picture.
Hill?
Hill.
Is that who does it?
They have belly trailers. They got,
Okay.
they got a little block that sets in it, they bump the coil up to it, set it down, they put two straps
So
over it.
now, is it in
But it
a
sits lower.
manufactured cradle?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now I found tons of those.
Okay.
But on a flatbed trailer, I did not see anything that showed that. And I thought, that's kinda telling me that most guys aren't gonna run that load. So, because I've never in my 14 years seen anything of that nature running down the road. I've seen the other two options, but never in my life have I seen that, and I thought, man, somebody's brave, or they're looking for a cash out on some kind of life insurance settlement for their wife, something, so. Cause that one's very, very deadly. When you're talking running rows of coils, same rules apply. You're just adding multiple coils in a line, so you can still run the same style, you're just now having more coils than just a single coil.
So going back to that slide you showed a minute ago with the eye to the sky where you had the X, you're saying if I had a load of 5 of those on there, each and every one of them.
Just like that.
Have to be X.
Every one of them have to look just like that, just like if you have them going this way, every one of them have to be just like that. Every one of them.
There is a section, I don't know if you have it in here, for skidded coils. There is a difference for bias, down skidded.
On a skidded one, same way.
Well,
See if I can get it pulled up.
in the DOT book, on a skidded coil, where the coil is properly secured to its skid, if it is a coil over 8,000 pounds, it says friction on it. That's all.
Now, the rigs that we've seen up here is for a coil over 5,000 pounds. Everything that I just showed you there is for over 5. Let this thing catch up, do this down here. Of course, if you ever need to know what this is, guys, it's in 393-120. So, I mean, it has its own, this is for load securement specifics.
I printed that out, that's part of your all's information that I laid in front of you. It's got the diagrams and whatnot.
That's what I thought it was.
I have one somewhere in my shop.
Yeah, pull that, if you can find that, pull that up for me.
Yeah. You can usually pull it up on the internet quicker.
Cause this is verbatim straight from the federal regs.
Yeah.
And that book there should be chapter 5, I believe.
It is, if you're looking in the the driver handbook, it'll be chapter 5.
JJ Keller, I'm not sure
Good
how
ma-
that matches.
It's
It's the same way.
Same exact thing. You can print it off the federal website, or you can even get it, through other types of, places. So I didn't see the option for skidded, cause if it's a 8,000 pound and your only securement option is a friction mat, I've got a lot of questions.
Yeah.
That's not, it
A lot of
doesn't say
questions.
only friction, man, I think.
That's
But
one
there's
of.
one method
There's
on
5
many.
coils, the front one's X, and then the ones behind it are single, and then the last
Right.
one is X.
So you're talking about rows out of the sky?
Out of the sky.
Okay.
The single coil by
Alright,
itself.
when a group of coils, see if I got that right. Yeah. When a group of coils is, well, no, this is side by side. Coils must be secured at the bottom, at least one tie down to the front row of coils restrained against forward motion, making an angle not more than 45 degrees. At least one attached to the rear row of coils, restrained, making a 45 degree, and at least one tie down over the top of each coil or traverse row of coils restraining against vertical motion. I didn't see it in there last night when I was finalizing this thing. So, but I read it probably 10, 12 different times to make sure I didn't miss something. But I can't say, I will say that it's not in there, cause I'm not familiar with it.
Sure.
And I've always heard like Mexico, so you got 5 of those.
Alright, now here's another rows of coils
X the front and back.
that have the equal outside diameter
That was
must be
just on this
secured.
website last year.
So,
They
yeah.
had a separate section for an 8,000 pound or more coil.
And now this one, the last update on this one was September of 2013. That was the last update to the change on the rig, so
Yeah.
this one's been around a little while. So,
Okay.
yes, sir. Be careful too.
Here's the single row.
When was it updated?
It's 2013.
2013.
That was the last update to the
Might
federal.
have been in that
on
manual that I
the
saw.
variable
Because
possible.
it said if it's 8,000 pounds or more, it's properly.
Yeah, if it's
secured,
8,000,
you
I would
use
say,
the
because everything that I've seen is all 5,000.
Yeah.
So, and be careful on that, guys. I know a lot of you, and I'm, you know, the one calling the kettle black, because I am the world's worst at keeping books around, because I'm like, hey, that's got regs in it that I need. Well, then you don't think, hey, this stuff might change, and you're writing something that's 10 years old. So,
If you're hauling a coil that's 20,000 pounds shotgun,
okay.
and chains, no securement of the chains, covers that working load limit, you still need the strap over the top as the third strand.
They're gonna go through. Yes, this is directly from the reg here, that every one of them, no matter what, has got the traversing through. They've all got traversing through.
But you said it's suicide as well, needs a strap over it.
The suicide has to have the strap. That is the one that it specifically states that it must have it over top of it. This right here is what I use here.
Not the shotgun.
Over top of it or through the
I'm
eye?
pretty sure it's the shotgun, because not all trailers have it where you can put something in the middle if it's suicide.
Okay, on the one that is, suicide eye crossways, you must have, let's see, right here. So it must be through the eyes and throughs. It's all through, there's nothing, anything over, is that the one you're talking about?
If it was suicide.
Yeah, yeah, it has to be where it's through the eye. Everything was through the eye. There was nothing that said it had to be up and over. It just said everything must be through the eye. You have to have one to the front, one to the rear, and one pulling down.
At that point, it's for personal preference.
Then it gets into, yes, how much have you got
They
for,
can either have.
correct. You have to just cover how much weight for the securement that you've got, depending on your chain and binder, how much that it's able to hold, and then for the poundage of the coal. Remember, you're only covering half the weight of the coal. So if you've got a 20,000 pound coal, you're only covering 10,000 pounds of it. So with what he was telling me, 6,600 pound chains, I mean, by the weight, you only need 2. But by the reg, to cover the minimum, you've gotta have that 3. Okay? You have to have that 3 minimum. So, and it just depending on the size of the, again, the securement. And again, guys, it all boils back to, are those 3 worth your life? You know it's gonna hold? Are you 100% sure it's gonna hold? That's where I'd be. I'd be the guy that's got 14 chains on one.
Me
Of
too.
course, I'm that guy. I'm scared to death, huh?
I use a lot.
Yeah, I'm sorry, and that scares me to death when I see those guys going down the road and they mash on the brakes hard. I'm thinking, man, at what point in time is that gonna give way?
Right.
You know, because every time you ratchet down on those things, you're just stretching the tensile of it. So, I mean, it's got a breaking point at one time or another. So, I'd be that one too. About every year I'd be calling the boss up saying, hey, I need them chains.
Hey.
So,
You
I'm
need
not
to-
telling y'all to do that,
Hey.
please. Training them, they'll shoot me before I get out the door.
No, but, I mean, it is probably something that we need to look at. I don't know when the chains were purchased, and maybe it is time to
I mean,
replace some.
When was the last time you guys checked your chains, honestly? I mean, went down, checking lengths, making sure none of them were stretched, you didn't have any breaks in them, anything like that? Have you?
You get no citations in there, guys.
Every once in a while?
Every
Yeah.
once in a while when I use them. I
Yeah,
have a lot of strap loads.
Okay, well, strap loads are easier. Strap loads, you can tell when there's cuts in those things very quickly. That's easy. But yeah, I mean, when you start looking, I mean, we'll find them all the time. You know, back when I actually worked the road and did a lot of stops, I was finding damaged links all the time. It wasn't nothing to find one that's stretched, one that's broken, and it would be hauling something, you know, this, excavators, something of large weight that if this fails, could this actually cause some kind of, catastrophic event? And that's what we're really hoping for, and hopefully that catastrophic event is just maybe a divot in the road
Right.
and not, unfortunately, you. So that's what we're really pushing and preaching for, is really to protect you and the other motorists on the roadway. So, man, they've got insurance on all that stuff, I promise. That's covered. So, Amazon, last time I checked, doesn't have body parts for sale. So, there's probably coming, but, you know. Yeah. What other questions have you got, guys? I know that was short and sweet, but there's not a whole lot in that reg, but I know we needed to touch on it because I've had several questions in reference to coils. So is there any of it we need to go back and tell again?
I got a question. At any time, is it okay just to have one strap across the coil?
Never,
Never.
never. Now, if it's under 5,000 pounds,
Mhm.
it falls back to the general securement requirements. So then you get into, if it's less than 5 feet, less than 1,100 pounds, you're only required one strap. If it's over 5 feet or over 1,100 pounds, then you gotta have a minimum of 2 straps or 2 forms of securement.
We're talking about coils that are this wide, this tall.
Okay. How, I mean,
Kinda like
how
right
heavy?
there.
They're.
7,000, 8,000 pounds.
Oh, yeah, no, you're not gonna get one strap, it's not gonna cut it.
And what if
No.
that strap breaks? You have nothing.
Right, well, you're over the 1,100, so
Right.
you're immediately have already put yourself into the 2-strap category already, just by that right there itself. Even though it's less than 5 feet, it's small in stature, but it's weight that's getting you, it's more than 1,100 pounds. So 393, 100 to 110 says you have to have 2 forms of securement on that alone.
Well, what we usually wind up with, it's kinda like that, but singles
Okay.
instead of side by side. And it's usually.
You would have to have 2 on each of those.
You'll get an example, we got a couple examples.
Okay.
We can look at.
Okay. Yeah.
Do we?
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, do we have some trucks out there we can go look at?
Yep,
Good.
we can pull them in here.
Well, that'd be great. Yeah, if you
Whenever
wanna.
we're ready, whoever's next in line, we can get one pulled in.
I think we're ready. If you wanna go ahead and pull one in, and we'll just kinda have a teaching session on that.
Who's next? Andy, you're up for pull in?
He's gonna go to the bathroom, he
I don't think you brought the citation book with you today, this is
It's
education.
okay. Nobody's gonna get a citation.
This is a teaching lesson.
This
This
is
is
just
training.
strictly for training.
You're okay.
This is training for.
Yeah, right.
Good luck.
It is. I promise you, it's just for
This is
training.
your freebie.
Who's after him?
How you doing?
We got 2 trucks after him.
All right, come sit down.
Patrick, you're up too.
Why? Well, then sit down.
They were here first.
This is all right, huh?
No, I don't want to hear
there.
I did not get back there.
But it's still
Now,
not bad.
if it's wrong, that's how we're trying to do it.
Well, all right, hey, he brought up a great point right there.
What's
No,
that?
no, seriously, you brought up a great point, because we, as officers, are the worst about this. You'll have a guy that's been on since Moby Dick was a minute, and here he is training everybody, but he's training them the way we did things in the 1980s or 1990s, and it's like, oh man, we haven't done that for 30 years, what are you doing? And we run into that right now. We've got guys that come out and they teach people how to do stuff, and you're like, where'd you hear that from? Oh, Bob told me that. Like, dude, no. What did your trainer, the one that physically trained you on this job, how did he tell you? Oh, he said do it this way, but Bob said this is a whole lot easier and it works the same way.
No.
No. Bob's a great guy, Bob knows his job, but things get outdated. I promise it, guys. We run into it the same way. These regs, they do change, however, fortunately, they don't evolve as quickly as what laws do.
No.
Laws change most every year, seems like. So if you're ever curious, man, just, check with your safety people. They know those things inside and out, so they're constantly having to keep up with them.
That's securement over the coil for the shotgun last year, we asked that question, and he said no.
What was that safety meeting you were at, we asked you about it? Well, what he said was, they won't ding you really for having a string over the top, so.
All right, here's what I was talking about a minute ago, talking about your articles. Now, this would be if it's less than a 5,000-pound coil. All right, if one tie down is required for anything 5 feet or less in length and 1,100 pounds or less. 2 tie downs are required if it's still 5 feet or less, but more than 1,100 pounds, or if it's longer than 5 feet, but less than or equal to 10 feet. So anything over 1,100 pounds, you're automatically required 2 forms of securement already on that alone.
You're hauling a bundle of sheet steel that's 12 foot long.
12 feet long, okay? Well, first question I'll ask you is, do you have a headboard? Yes or no?
I mean, is it up against the headboard?
Yeah, it's up against the headboard.
If it's in the middle of the trailer.
So is it up
one
against the
bundle,
headboard?
let's say it's a 10,000 bundle of sheets, 48 over 20 or 48.
Okay, so it's gonna be,
4 by 10, or well.
okay, so it's 12 feet in length and it's not against the headboard. We're not against the headboard, okay, that's what, all right, so with that, you're already required 2 straps, right? All because it's longer than 5 feet, but less or equal to 10, then you gotta come down one more. All right, it says 2 tie downs if the article is 10 feet or more, and 1 additional tie down for every 10 feet. All right, one more down, if an individual is blocked or braced against forward movement, then you get away with just 2, but because you have no headboard that is butted up against, you're required 3 in the first 10 feet plus 1 there, every 10 foot thereafter. Alright? So 3 in the first 10 feet and 1 for every 10 thereafter.
Now, isn't there a rule in there that straps have to be within 48 inches of each other?
Just 3 within the first 10 feet. If you wanna put them right on top of each other,
I've seen.
I mean, I would probably not do that, but no, there's nowhere in the regs, I mean, that's verbatim right there. There's
I've seen
nowhere.
Indiana out measuring.
Well, now Indiana's a whole different ballgame. We're not Kansas anymore, Toto.
That's a different critter over
When
there.
you get to Indiana, there's a lot of, man, I'll tell you what, they've taught me more than what I've heard people, saying, like, that's a regulation. Holy cow. So, yeah.
I want to come back to the road. Like I said, we do a lot of these, and you talked about 2 on each, but I mean, even in the diagram, it talks about just 1 across each road.
Like again, I'm not, no law. Those group ones, right, so no rows, there's 1 tie down against the front row, and forward row, possible, and 1 tie down against the rear, so we're at the rear. And at least 1 tie down over the top of each pole, or side by side rows. Tie down, must go over the top of the pole.
So basically, we're good single strapping still, but they wanna see us go 1 around the back and 1 around the front.
You can do, can't you do?
Can you do an X and
forward?
Stop the forward.
Can you do what?
If you do an X on the Or you do one over with the belly, either one of those are options to use, as long as you have that choose.
As long as it's at 45 degrees. At the front,
So
yeah.
we could do an X on the front one and single the others, and an X on the back one? Okay,
As long as you're preventing from the forward movement.
okay.
Because really what you're doing, guys, you're just doubling up. You're doubling your security.
So make sure so I can fill Corey in, the X in the front and the back is good, all right?
Yeah, and then single over the middle.
Okay.
No, that
He didn't
doesn't.
shift, so.
Now, how big are these coils? Are these?
These are probably around
Those are
about-
5,000 pounds.
Yeah, about 5,000
Those are
feet.
5 even?
Yeah, probably close, 65.
Straps are rated for 5,500,
Right.
5,400 working load.
He's got 8 of them, so he's never got
about
his head.
five. They're probably under.
So I mean, with that being a row, he would have to, the front of it would have to either be Xed or it would have to have it at the 45. And the rear